Moonies! Welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson, and I'm here with the amazing Ashleigh, aka Ashleigh Chubby Bunny. So happy to have her on the show. Hey, Ashleigh!
Hey there. Hey.
Hey! I'm so happy you're on the show. I'm like such a fan. This is so exciting. Yeah, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm excited to be here too. I've been following the podcast for a little bit. I've been listening to the episodes, of course. The one with Fifi Dobson really spoke to me. So, the one with Fifi Dobson really was ironically popped up at a time where I was sharing about her on my page. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, she interviewed Fifi Dobson too. So I was listening to all the different episodes and I'm just I really like this format of having Black femmes come on and discuss things that are just have been stereotypically not for us, apparently. We're not allowed to nerd out on stuff that might not be seen as quote unquote a part of the culture or whatever. But I love that now with everybody kind of understanding that, we all have different hobbies, we all have different interests. I just like hearing how other Black femmes deal with it or what they like to do. I know, is their last name Jax? Oh no, their first name is Jax Prince.
Oh yeah, Jax is amazing.
I loved that episode so much. I really adored the depths of how y'all discussed exactly what kind of anime y'all like to watch, mangas y'all like to watch. I was just oh, this is that's why I was intimidated at first, because I was oh, this is I'm gonna get on here and I have to talk about all of this stuff. But no, I just really appreciate the show and I really like having a space where Black femmes can nerd out. And so I'm really excited.
No, Jax is on another level. They know way more than me, so I was intimidated too.
So
I get it.
That entire when they discuss with you how they came into voice acting was such a journey. I was this is very impressive. I want to know this person. I want to be friends with this person. This person has it together, and it's just yeah. I really appreciated. I'm sorry, I'm fanning out on the past episodes. I really love it.
It really, really makes me so happy because I just be putting out episodes and I'm I don't know if anyone's listening. I don't know what's happening. I'm just out here. So it makes me really happy to hear that you enjoyed them. And yeah, Fifi Dobson was dope. Jax is amazing. I love them.
Yeah. Also, I forgot their name. I forgot their last name, Raven.
Oh, I didn't share her last name. Yeah. But yes, Mova Princess.
We're Twitter mutuals, so we're always tweeting back and forth and sharing stuff. So when I saw that she was on here, I was oh my God, okay. I was just very excited. So I'm sorry for fangirling out again. I just really, yeah.
No, you are perfectly fine. Yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes too, just because we got into so many different conversations on just different stuff, and it was really fun to just kind of learn and talk to her about so many different things. And just I think we talked a lot about Black feminist theory, and I was just this is amazing. I'm talking about feminism and Sailor Moon and Black women, and it's just this is everything to me. Audre Lorde. But yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's usually why when I talk with people, I'm always nervous about it taking too long, because those are the kind of conversation I'm used to having.
Same, yeah. But I want to have a conversation with you that today. Hopefully not too long, because even though I can talk about Sailor Moon forever, unfortunately 24-hour episode podcasts aren't people don't like that. So
oh really, they don't?
I know, go figure. Boo. But I have to ask you before we continue on, what's your first memory of watching Sailor Moon?
My first memory of watching Sailor Moon is me being in 4th grade, and my mom had to wake us up super early so we could get to our school because it was faith-based. So she would drop us off at the before school program. So we would have to get up at 4 or 5. And I don't know what local channel that it would be playing on, but it was definitely on. So I knew the schedule when you're younger and you start realizing that things are on at a certain time. So that was like my little incentive to wake up on time so I wouldn't miss, because that was like, she let us watch it in the morning, and like she was the person that really was like, oh, we don't need TV in here like that. So the fact that she was like, okay, y'all can do this while I'm like getting ready, I was like, I made sure not to miss like my window, like my chance of like getting to watch it. So that's like my earliest memory of it.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was I think at that time it was like on like WB or like that like I think now maybe it's like Pix 11 or now it's
Yeah,
CW, I don't know, but like those channels, I think.
very much. Yeah.
Yeah, but oh man, that's funny though. You're like, this is my 1 30 minute of TV, 30 minutes part of TV, and I get to watch Sailor Moon. I'm like gonna go in on this.
Of course. Like I went to like a like I said, I went to faith-based schools. We were like very much like in the churches and stuff. So like we weren't really allowed to watch stuff like that. Like I was only seeing things like that when we went to daycare afterwards. And so like the fact that she was like letting us watch it in the house just so that she could like have extra time to get ready before we left, I was like, oh, score. Cause like she wasn't gonna do that like any other way.
So, did you have any favorite episodes or moments when you were watching?
I don't really have a favorite episode because I wasn't as invested as in the show. So I was more of like a passive um viewer, but like when I did see the show, it was very important to me that we made it in time to see the transformations. Like the transformation scenes meant a lot to me because I was in private school at the time and we were only supposed to wear like uniforms. And I was just like always upset that like we had to wear them because mine looked weird on me because I was a little bit chubbier than everybody else. And I just would come home and like dress in my like my home clothes after, and I would always feel like I was Sailor Moon, like transforming like transforming back into like my home clothes. I don't know, but like I really did not like wearing like my private school uniform every day. So the transformation scenes meant a lot to me. Also, they're really pretty, and like also like the music and like the grandiose of everything just made it seem like it was like, oh, this is like amazing. And like even though she didn't look that different, I was like, that's me. Like I don't look that different when I come home and I change my outfit, but like it's still me, and like I feel like I could actually be myself. So that's what stuck with me the most.
Yeah, I never get tired of the transformation scenes. Like you would think that
Ever.
it's like the same thing every episode, but I'm like, I still want to watch it. Like I'm not gonna fast forward through it ever.
Yes, the whole thing has to play. And you're like, I've seen this like 8 times already. And it's just like every time you see it, you're just like, I'm so enthralled with this. I absolutely love this. And I'm just like, I really wish I could just live inside this scene for the rest of my life. So it's just like, I really, yeah, that's what I like really identified with the most, really was into like the transformation scenes.
Yeah, I totally feel that. They're so pretty. And I'm pretty sure that's like 50% of the reason why I fell in love with Sailor Moon when I was younger. Because it was just like, I was just mesmerized by it. And it's just so pretty. And I love how you, because it makes sense. Like you were like in the faith based school. So like you probably had like maybe a similar outfit, I'm assuming. And so like it was like,
Yeah.
yeah. That's cool though. But yeah, so I'm like, it really is like, I could see you being like, that's me. Like, I'll be wearing that.
I just wanted to see something else for myself. I was just like, this is a possibility for me. Like I really just would like to see something outside of this like gray and like black and white pattern skirt. It was like whatever you think the outfit looked like, it did. So that it was just like very, yeah, I couldn't express myself in it. I couldn't feel like myself.
I got you. Yeah, I had to wear not uniform but dress code in middle school, and it was so boring. And I tried my best to express myself through like shoes or like purses and like other things, but it's still like But did you have a favorite transformation, and do you have a favorite Sailor Scout?
Well, I don't want to say basic, but I do love Usagi a lot. I identify with her just trying to do the right thing and always being late, always doubting herself, always being overwhelmed by her emotions, because that literally is me and was me for the longest time, especially since I was able to see like somebody else be able to kind of like channel their emotions the way that she did, because I wasn't in a household where I could do that. Like I couldn't just cry. I couldn't just like, I wasn't like, I couldn't express myself at home the way I wanted to. So it's weird. Like I couldn't express myself the way I wanted to at school, you know, through my dress and self-expression, but like I couldn't express myself the way I wanted to at home emotionally. So it was like a way I connected with her a lot because her mom and her dad seemed to always be on her ass about shit. And I was just like, this just feels familiar because this woman is always mad at me about something. And I'm just trying my best. And so, like, to see her, like, Usagi be able to be like, cry and like all this other stuff, I'm just like, I kind of felt like I was like, what is it called? It's
Like
not like
empathizing.
I was empathizing, but also I could feel like I don't want to say like vicariously living through her, like letting, like, if she's expressing something, I felt in that moment that I could express it at the television, or I could express it, like, you know, to my sister, but it wasn't like going to happen outside the context of that. But also, like, I really liked that you said that it was pretty, because like I said before, we weren't really watching anything like that. And like the bright colors and like the style of like the, like, you know, the art style and everything was what also drew me into it. Cause it's like, yeah, you see them on TV and you're like, okay, whatever. Cause like at that time, like Pokemon and like all like Digimon, everything was like coming to fruition. But like just seeing that like kind of like art style stand out, and like how big their eyes are, and how like it just, everything just seemed like this is like someone knew exactly what they were doing. It was very eye catching. And like I took it into like my later years when I started drawing anime for myself. So it was like really cool. It's been a full circle moment when it comes to Sailor Moon, even though I'm not like, I'm more of a casual viewer than anything.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point because at that time, for some reason, I never got into Pokemon when I was younger or Digimon. And I'm wondering if that was a part of the reason, even though I was watching like Dragon Ball Z, but for some reason, it was just like Sailor Moon was just like, I was just mesmerized. Because, like you said, it was so pretty. And so that might have been why like Pokemon and Digimon didn't get me at that same time because I was just like, it's cool. You said you draw that? Do you still draw?
No, unfortunately. I'm trying to get back into it. I have like my little binders full of like my like drawings. I used to draw in clothes. I used to make comics. Um, anything that, if it was like a assignment test, if the back of the paper was blank, it was not safe from me. Like I used to steal reams of copier paper out of out of teachers' lounges so I could have a whole like entire pack of blank like paper to draw on. Like it was, I am still like, I'm still kind of like bummed that I don't have that same kind of like motivation, because I was drawing on everything to the point where my teachers was like, actually, you can't draw on the back of this when you turn it in. And it was just like me continuing to try different like styles of anime. And it was like heavily incorporated into everything that I was doing. So like at first I tried to just start out with like, oh, I'm just going to draw anime. And I had a friend that in ninth grade, what we would do is we would trade the drawing back and forth and see who added what to see what it looked like. Cause she also drew anime. And like at the end of it, it would just look really like, it would look over the top, but it was like so much fun because we also taught each other how to like do different things. Like um drawing hands was a really big issue for me. So she taught me how to draw hands, and like I taught her how to draw like hair. And so that was incorporated into everything else that I drew outside of that. So when I was like, okay, I don't really think I can keep up with like drawing anime, I just started designing clothes and just drawing scenes regularly. But the style of anime stayed. Like if you look at all of like my drawings at that time period, the eyes very much do look like Sailor Moon's eyes, because I could not get over that. Like they're definitely gonna have, like you have like this little drawing of this like girl that has all this body and like, you know, hair, and then like she just has these like Sailor Moon eyes. And I was just so happy when I figured out the right amount of pressure when you're shading. I would try out like, oh, like if I go out, like I would do like, oh, I'm just gonna shade inside, do the 3 little circles that are empty, and then oh, what if I do like a thick ring around the eyeball this time? Ooh, it's really gonna make them pop. Like I always loved updating like what I thought like that could look like. So yeah, I want to get back to that so badly.
Yeah, no, that is so true. Like I remember trying to, and it looks so easy to do, but it's
It's
like
not.
you said, like the shading and like getting like
I would
the bubbles in the right place.
I would spend hours on like just a set of eyes. And my friends are like, they would look at me and they're like, you've been looking at that for like like an hour or two. I'm like, yeah. And I was perfectly fine with it. I loved doing it because I was like, every time I draw another person, the eyes get better. I mean, they get better. So I
Yeah.
was like, this is perfect. And it's also how I taught myself how to do my makeup. So it's just kind of like, I
Oh,
like, yeah, because I started doing my makeup when I was like a little bit later in like high school, and drawing anime is how I taught myself how to do my makeup.
that's so funny. Wait, how did that like translate? Like, how did
So,
anime make you learn keep teach you how to do makeup?
no, it's fine. So like with the little, I guess, figures or draw, like the models I would draw or whoever whatever you would call them, I would focus a lot on their face features, and I would focus a lot on their makeup. So like if I started feeling like, oh, I want to see about what would it look like if the lashes were like this, but like we now introduce like an eyeliner, or what it would look like if we introduce the I guess illusion of a deeper, brow bone inside, like things like that. And when I started doing my makeup, I realized that the way that I held like the eyeliner, the way that I like did my face, it was literally like lining up to like what I was doing with my drawings. Cause I would start in the same way that I started the eyes. I would like flick the wing out the same way. And when I was starting to incorporate lashes and do like an inner corner highlight, I started looking like I had like anime eyes. And I was just like, oh shit. And so I just kept doing that because I really liked it. And of course, like I had to like, I like, right now I don't like, it's still kind of, I guess right now it's like an elevated version, but like I always understood the importance of shading and what catches light on the face and lines when it came to like makeup, because I was spending so much time doing that on the figures I was drawing.
That makes so much sense. I never thought of it like that, but it makes so much sense. I also realized too that like I don't know if we finished the conversation about Usagi or Serena, because also she's my favorite. So like maybe it is basic, but we are in this together. Um,
Okay, cool. Thank you. My name is Ashleigh and I'm basic because I love Usagi.
right. Hi, Ashley. um, yeah. So I completely get that. Like being like she. Like I love that she wears her emotions on her sleeves. I love that she eats
Yeah.
because I love food, and I love that. Yeah, she's just like has this like heart of gold, and she's a great character.
And if you notice, like throughout the show, it's a lot of her learning how to deal with her emotions to do what she needs to do. So Luna's always like trying to get her to get a hold of herself. And I just feel like I was like, I resonate so much with this because at the end of the day, she uses her emotions that she wears on her sleeve to make the best decisions for her and everyone else. And she sees things that other people don't see, or she'll find herself in the middle of something that somebody else on the outside couldn't possibly understand, but she's able to deal with it because she has more experience with it, but more of like of an emotional experience with it. And like seeing throughout the show how people like get on her for that, really like it made me feel a way, because I felt like that too when like like at home or like at school, if I showed a little bit too much more emotion, like they were just like, oh, like they would think, oh, you're too sensitive or whatever. But like that was me showing like my emotional and like I guess not emotional intelligence, but just like trying to express myself emotionally, because I wasn't like, it's just very weird. Like when you're like a little like black girl and you're at a faith-based school where everybody's mostly white. So it was like me and my sister and then everybody else was white. And having them say that you can't really express emotion, like if you're sad, if you're frustrated, if you're excited, it's always too much. It's always like, oh, like this is too much, or like, oh, like you're crying. Why are you crying? And just like them kind of causing a scene and treating like I'm like being hyperbolic when I'm going through the same things that they're going through. Like I'm having the same emotions they're going through. So like that's why I also really identify with Serena, because like I really, she has those to herself, but also like other people give her shit for it. But she's at the end of the day stronger because of it, because she's able to wear her heart on her sleeve and recognize things in other people that like they might, or other people might not recognize in themselves,
Yeah.
in order to succeed on the mission, in order to keep trying, in order to do her best. And I'm just like, yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were worried about talking. But anyway, yeah, no, that is so true. Like I love that her emotions are like her part of her strength, and like the fact that
Exactly.
yeah. I love that. That's so true. And yeah, she gets lack for it, but it's like emotional intelligence is important. Being able to like even share what you're feeling. Like there are adults who can't do that. So
Listen, I'm telling you, and I think it's so interesting that now we're getting to a point where people are talking about that, and people are just like, yeah, that I understood that was an issue, and like adults are actually being taken to task for like needing to show up more. Like you need to understand how to talk to somebody that's younger than you, because a lot of them don't. You need to be able to talk to somebody that works with you. You need to be talking to somebody, you have to understand how to deal with other humans. And so I like that now we're like talking about it, but definitely back then it was more so like I was just like, well, I feel like this is not going to be, I'm not gonna be able to figure this out because everybody thinks I'm like, dramatic and I cry too much. And I'm like, I'm too much. And I'm just literally sitting here being like a little 8-year-old girl wanting to connect with other people and responding to how I'm being treated and like not really having an outlet for that. So that's why like now I'm just like, oh, it makes sense. Now that I think about it, I'm like, now it makes sense that I identify with her because that was a strength of hers as opposed to, the weakness that everybody else like really gave her shit for thinking it was.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I think that's probably part of the reason why I was drawn to her too. It's just I love that she's able to like share her emotions just so easily and just easily. But man, I'm really loving hearing you talk about this. This is so cool. I like never thought of it this way, so I'm just like beaming. But
really, you haven't?
I don't know, not in the way that you said it. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah. It's making me think too, because like you have a podcast. I'm like, I need to go listen to some of these episodes. Because you have the podcast TNA, right?
Yeah, it's TNA, but we're relaunching it. So like we currently like changed it to like Cheeky, the name Cheeky. And we're like repositioning it, trying to have a structure so that it's not like, because at first it was just us coming up with the idea to like basically record ourselves, me and my friend Ariel. During the pandemic, we started talking a lot more, like a lot more, because everybody was quarantined, and we'd be on the phone for like hours and like be on FaceTime for hours. So we just both came up with the idea, like, why don't we just like record this? Like a lot of the things we talk about are very like, they're very relevant. They're also very important. And I think this would be a great opportunity to kind of just put that like out there. And like stuff got in the way a lot because last year was very difficult for everyone. But we kind of just been working on this year, being like, nah, we're gonna get back to it and we're gonna take this seriously. So we're in the TNA episodes are still up, but we're like in the process of relaunching it as like something completely different and something a little bit more like structured so that we can feel like we have a little bit more control over the process.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Are there any early ideas you can share what the new podcast will be like?
I don't know why we're acting like we reinvented the wheel or whatever, but we're really into the idea of having mini like episodes off the path of like the regular episodes, because the regular episodes we're talking about like multiple topics and like trying to get to the end of like talking about something that might have happened to us sexually that week that we would like to share that's like positive, or like something like, we have like a moment where we share, like, because that's kind of the point of the podcast, is that it's like sex positive, but like it's more of an open dialogue than sensationalizing it. I don't think it's a problem. I need to restructure how I talk about us expressing things. So what happens with us is that because we enjoy speaking with each other so much, and we're very vocal, and we like are very like we have very strong personalities. It's chaotic. And so we're talking on like, I'm still trying to get us down to like at least an hour, just like an hour and a half tops, because there's so much information to get through. So we came up with the idea of like, why don't we just have like, the core episodes we're doing, and then we just have mini episodes on the side. And I'm just like, it's not a new idea, I know, but I think that would very like suit us, because then we can focus on one thing, and all the nuances and all of the topic that we're trying to get out, like we could just get it out in that episode, and then we could figure out how to like do better time management for the other ones. And I'm just like, lit. So like that's kind of what we've been like recording and focusing on, because we have some episodes we've already recorded, and then we're going to be working on we have a photo shoot coming up and a video shoot coming up, and I'm just really excited about everything falling into place. That's why I said I feel like a boss lady, like a boss bitch now, because it just feels like I came back from California and I was just like, we're doing it. Like I literally did sex magic in California and came back, and I swear everything is coming to fruition. Like, it's very scary right now because I'm just like, wait, this shit works? Like, I'm actually like figuring things out. Like, I'm actually like working towards something. This is amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah, I'm excited for you. You're like photo shoots, video shoots, like that just sounds like you are like bossing it up. Also, I've never heard of sex magic. What is that?
So I first heard about it when I went to an event my friend was having. I'm a part of like a community of like sex positive people in the industry that are more keen on having conversations surrounding sex as opposed to like sensationalizing it, which I really respect because that's kind of how I've um, approached it when I talk to people as a more matter of fact and not like, ooh, we're talking about sex. But basically what she talked about was that the woman that was on the panel when I saw her, she discussed that when she's with herself or she's with a partner at, she's channeling all of the sexual energy beforehand because of course you're having sex if you want to and you feel like it. And then at the moment of like climax, like that's when you have to make sure you focus all of your energy on setting your intentions and like, being very clear about what it is you want. And I was just like, okay. And I like kind of let that in the back of my mind because I just kind of like, oh, that's cool or whatever. And then like last year, I got into setting intentions and having rituals when I was like living in this basement because I was just like, I fucking hate it here. The pandemic sucks. I don't really have anything going on. So all these candles that I would get from the bodega, the white candles, I started having a ritual where I would light them and I would say like affirmations before like multiple times before I like smoked out of my bowl or whatever. And then I just kind of kept doing that off and on. It's kind of been increasing. And then like when I went to California, there was like a series of unfortunate events that ended me up in an Airbnb over in Hollywood by myself, which was amazing because I was like, oh my God, it's great. And they had white candles and I hadn't seen a white candle in months because I didn't have any in my home. And it was like the night of like the Aries full moon and I'm an Aries. And I was like, this is perfect. I have to figure out how to make this work for me because I already have a plan. I'm already thinking about what I want to do. It's just a matter of I need to set my intentions on it. So I remember like what my friend said, and then I actually texted her and asked her what to do. And she basically told me that I needed to clean the candles before I like burn them. I needed to be very intentional about what I wanted, and I had to understand exactly how to channel the energy. It sounds like it might be more complex than it actually is. But it's like really about try because I know that when I'm like having sex or whatever and I'm about to like, the moment of climax, I'm not thinking, I don't even understand. I don't even know why there's another person there. Like I am not, and it's, I just noticed that too. I was like, it's really hard for me to like even focus on the other person there, let alone thinking about something. Like I'm talking about my face is hot and my ears are ringing. Why would I be thinking about making wishes and shit during sex? But like, I basically just did that. And I literally made sure to like wish for it, like not out loud, obviously, but like because the partner there was just like, I didn't want to freak them out, which is weird because I sought them out specifically for it. So like when I was looking for somebody to like hook up with, I was like, hey, so I'm looking for someone that wants to be a part of this sex magic ritual. And they were like, okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, LA or California. I feel like they're a little more open-minded. Okay.
They really usually are. It was a way to weed them out because I already knew that I wanted to hook up with somebody while I was out there. I just wanted to make it intentional. And so when that happened, I like wished to myself in my head and then like, I asked him to leave and he was like, okay, bye. And then on the way back, I kind of forgot that I did it. I was like kind of like nervous that, oh, how is this going to go? Like, am I really going to have this happen? Because I had already thought while I was out there, I want to get more into cannabis and I need to figure out how. But I was just kind of toying with the idea. When I got back after the ritual, I started feeling more motivated to be proactive. So I was like, I'm going to start following all of these brands. I'm going to start, scheduling meetings with different people to actually meet with them as opposed to like talk with them, over like DM or something. And then when I got back with Ariel, she was like, okay, so we need to pick back up what we were trying to do. Because I spent the rest of the like summer just kind of like, grieving or whatever. But like she was like very like accommodating and was like, okay, so we're going to pick back up with the podcast. Like I think we should get this together. And that's when everything just started making sense because I recognized that everything was steps. So I was like, okay, so if I'm going to want to be, which is really hard to like process if you're like somebody that's like, what are you talking about? I already know. It's like, no, like I have ADHD. Like it's not easy. So I was just like, I need steps and I need to be able to be like, okay, I need to reach out to this person because of this. I need to set a schedule because of this. So we started talking about the launch of the podcast, and we started like scaling back because I think what happened was everything got kind of convoluted before we took a break. And I just started feel like people, I'm telling you, once I started following like these brands, they started reaching out to me and like being like, we would like to send you something. What, attracted you to our page? Is it okay if we have a meeting? We want to talk to you about possibly being a representative for us. And it's been happening I got back from California like 2.5 weeks ago. And like the first week I was like, okay, this is like ass. Cause I'm like jet lagged and I'm trying to reacclimate to the city. And like literally when I came back, it was like dark and rainy all week. And I was like, of course. Of course. And I got swallowed up by my apartment again. And I just kind of was like really like pessimistic because I had just gotten back from like sunshine and beaches and like just skater guys and all this other weird shit. And then I get here and like the next week after that is when the DMs and the emails started. And like people actually reaching out and being like, we would like for you to be a part of this. We like what your brand represents. People hitting me up for interviews. I'm getting commissioned to do a lot of writing for like publications and shit. And I'm just like, okay, so like, I literally, yes. I'm like, okay, I literally am so overwhelmed. That's why when you were like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm pumped. Like, this is a lot. Like, I'm like activated right now.
Oh,
and so like, it was just more, I think it's more so of like trying to be like, hey, you need to focus, you need to refocus. And that ritual helped me understand about what I needed to focus on and what was important to me. And I think that's what like sometimes is we all need to do is like kind of ground ourselves a little bit. Like what is actually important to me? This is a perfect time to do it. We're in the middle of like one of the most uncertain times in our current, human history. It's the time to figure out exactly what you want to do, what you want the rest of your life to look like, and like what do you need to do to get to it, and like be a little bit more kinder with yourself because we're seeing that nobody obviously has it figured out, or else it wouldn't have gone this terribly for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we need to forget about Sierra's prayer and figure out what your wish was.
So my friend told me that I could share them. So my affirmations were just like, I want to be able to financially take care of myself. I want to be able to physically take care of myself. I want to be able to emotionally take care of myself. I want to be able to live where I want. I want to be able to love who I want and have them love me back. And I literally started as like, that's the base, right? And then when I do that all the time. If I light a candle, like before I smoke, it's like definitely a ritual at this point. And then when I was in California, I did that, but then I added on to it. And I said, I want to be able to be successfully a part of the cannabis industry. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I'm still like, I want to be like somebody that like, not only like is like sharing about it, but I want to be a part of it. I think that cannabis has done, well, I know that cannabis has helped me so much in terms of my mental health, in terms of my creativity, in terms of like just surviving, especially in New York. I've come to so many realizations, processed so many things like while high. And it's just like, I just feel like I wanted to incorporate that in like my overall online experience and sharing with other people. Cause I don't really see stoners that look like me. And so that's kind of like where me and Ariel, because we're both stoners. And so like, that's kind of where we're like coming from is like, I just said I wanted to be more a part of that like, industry and be successful within it. So it wasn't like, oh, it's like that much of a pair. It's just like, I'm trying to like, just get to the basics. I want to be able to do these things. And so that's kind of how it's going. Like, I don't necessarily pray to God. I don't really, believe in like witchcraft stuff that much because I'm like, oh my God, am I a witch? What the hell is this? I just think this is a very good grounding. I think it's a very good grounding exercise because it does it at the end of the day, it forces you to actually reconsider and re-examine what is most important to you and how to go after it. Not like, oh, I want this, I want that. Like, it's just more so like, I want to be able to do these things for myself because I know that I deserve to be able to do these things for myself. And I don't want to be dependent on any other body, like other people to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. I feel like the mind is such a powerful thing. And once you have like that clear intention and you can just see the path forward, it's just like there's no stopping you. And so I completely get that. And I love how efficient this ritual was too. It was just like, all right, like this is what I want to do. Can you come over? All right, it's done. Can you leave? It was just, it was
Literally, though, literally, like the vetting process was so strenuous because everybody thought that I was kidding. And then I was like, okay, so that person's not obviously that. And then the person, obviously, if it's like a guy, they're like, oh, of course, I can do the whole sex magical, have sex. And then like I would see that they were like, were not serious, or they weren't taking me seriously, or that they probably weren't going to be a great lay anyway. So I would just like vet them based on their capabilities of like being able to not only just come over and just drop off dick, but like, are you like personable? Are we gonna have a good time together? Am I gonna feel safe with you? Are you gonna like let me feel comfortable enough, or have it to where I feel comfortable enough to share my and communicate my needs with you? Like, it's very important to me, even if it's a casual situation, that both people are fully present and feel safe enough and comfortable enough to like, you know, be with each other in that moment. Cause I just think it's interesting that like the expectation for a casual, I guess, encounter is more sterile than that. It's mostly like, oh, just come over and like do that and then you go. And I'm just like, no, I'd like to like, you know, I have friends that are more into like trysts. So I call them trysts now, and like kind of like understand that sexual energy is a part of, you know, their lives and they harness it in certain ways. So like I've been able to like vet based off on like other things other than like, oh, is he cute? Or oh, does he have a big dick? It's usually like, oh, like does he understand what I'm trying to do? Is he somebody that's comfortable enough with himself to like laugh during sex even? Is he comfortable enough with himself to understand that he doesn't know what he's doing all the time and let me say something if something's going on? So it's just like a very tedious like vetting process, but I'm glad it worked out.
yeah. Yeah. That makes sense too. Like the vibe has to be important for this to kind of like carry through. And
Exactly.
yeah. Well, speaking of safety and someone, you know, being safe around people, I hear you have a knife collection.
Hell yeah.
How did that
Hell
start?
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um it started in a very terrible way actually. So like
Not terrible.
when I yeah, I know, which is kind of sucks because like I really would like to do things that weren't like, you know, a result of trauma, but here we are. So
Yeah.
basically when I moved to New York, I moved here for an internship while I was in school. And like I had no idea what I was gonna do. I just packed up everything like 2 weeks before the semester started and moved here. And I was like, I'm gonna do this internship because it was required. And well, like the credit was, not the actual internship. But on the way, I was like doing really well. And then one of the things that I was trying to figure out to do when I was here was dress for the climate because I'm from Dallas and it is a completely different climate there. So like I'm trying to figure out the best way to dress for the cold and still maintain, I guess, my like personal sense of style because I was working in the fashion industry. I was a sales intern in the showroom. And on the one of the days on the way to the train, a man that I thought was going to like rob me or mug me because I was like, oh, he's gonna be really mad. Because like that was one of the times I felt like something was gonna happen. And I was like, oh, he's gonna be really mad if he like takes my backpack and there's like nothing in there because I'm so poor. Like, what if he comes back? And he's just like, you fucking broke bitch. What is this? I thought he was gonna be angry at me for not having anything for him to steal, basically. But when I was going down the stairs and trying to avoid him, he grabbed up like my shorts that I had on because I had on like a pair of like really cute like tuxedo shorts with like leggings, like legging like tights that were like really like insulated because it was cold. And he grabbed up like in the crotch area and then ran out. And I was like in shock because I was like, oh my God, it's the first time I've ever like had that happen to me. Like I've had a lot of street harassment and stuff happen here while I was here, but no one's actually like ever like put their hands on me. And so I was like, I was so freaked out, but I chased him out of the subway when he ran and I couldn't find him. And so like I called my mom and I tried to tell her like, you know, like what happened because like I'm freaking out. And she's like lived in a city before. She's from like Chicago. So like she's lived like, you know, in a city by herself as a young woman before. So I'm trying to get advice. And she just told me that, oh, well, Ashleigh, like that's just something that's going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. And I was just like, I did not call for this. So I hung up, called my sister. And while I'm talking to my sister, she asked me what my address was. And I was like, why? Because she's like, I need to know where to send the mace. And so she sent the mace and she sent a little keychain knife. And I really fucked with the keychain knife because I liked how unassuming it was. still scared of like opening it and like cutting off a finger or something. And then I looked into possibly getting like, I guess, a smaller knife, because the knives that I was looking at were really long, like huge. Like, I told myself that I really wanted to get a Bowie knife, and I kept asking myself why. That's a hunting knife. What would you do with a hunting knife? Um, but no. And then like I remember I went to, I forget which this thrift store is, because it was somewhere in like East Village, and I found like an Italian stiletto knife, and I fell in love with it. And so now I have like this little like collection of knives that's growing. Basically, it started off because I was like, oh, I need to protect myself. This is ridiculous. Like, people are grabbing me. But now I like actually really like appreciate like how they look, how they feel in my hand. I love taking them with me. It's just like an extra like feeling of security, but also like I really, really like knives. And it sounds creepy, but I really like knives a lot.
It sounds badass. I was just like, ooh, this is cool.
Like, I didn't want it to be, I don't want to be like, you know, I don't want it to be on par with like the white guys that are like, ooh, I have a samurai sword. Like, I don't want to be like where those guys get into like having a sword collection. But like,
no.
Yeah, I really like knives.
Charlie's Angels or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It just feels really cool. Like, I'm trying to think of who in a movie has had a knife collection. But yeah, no, when I saw it, I was just like, this sounds awesome. But that guy sucks.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that happened to you.
Of course, yeah.
But your knife collection is awesome.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences here in the city. Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences here in the city that was like, yeah, you need to learn how to take care of yourself. Because in Dallas, you know, you're not outside unless you have to be. And so it's just like having to be around all these people, and like it's literally all the people. So it's not, you know, they're all out there. So if anybody wants to do anything, like I've been followed, I've been like verbally harassed on the train in front of everybody, I've been screamed at. And so I'm just like, having the knives makes me feel a little bit more secure, but I don't want to tie them to like fear. I don't want to tie them to like, oh, these men maybe get these knives. I really appreciate the craftsmanship. And like even learning how to use the knives, like I really appreciate the overall experience of like having them with me, and also like taking care of them at home and stuff like that. I really like my knives.
That's super cool. That is super cool. I'm just like, I imagine you like a gardener, but it's with knives.
Yeah.
Now you have like 100,000, over 100,000 followers on Instagram. So what advice would you give to someone who like wants to I guess become like that popular on Instagram, or like just that popular in general? Like, you're getting brands notice you. I mean, aside from sex magic, what advice would you give?
Well, honestly, it's the same thing I'm seeing a lot of creators on TikTok really try to like impress upon everybody on the platform, which is authenticity. I've never been somebody that knew how to do any kind of strategy or anything for myself or my page. It literally started out as me making mood boards on it. After it kind of was just like there for a second, I started in college and just kind of left it. There's like, if you go back far enough, you see all like the Valencia, like filtered, like terrible, like college photos. And then like around 2017, I was like fired from a job, but part of my job for that job was creating mood boards, and I just really, really like liked it. So I started making mood boards on my page, sharing them, and also putting images out there that I wasn't seeing on my newsfeed. Like I wasn't seeing people that looked like me. I wasn't seeing the kind of content I wanted to see, because at that time it was still very much like it wasn't like popping. And so the only thing that I would like say is that like, honestly, if you are like a genuine person and you understand how to communicate in a way that's authentic to like your audience, if you have one, if you plan on building one, they can see through that and can resonate with it. And that's kind of the reason for the growth, to be completely honest with you, is that like I even like went on a job interview and they had me pull up my Instagram, which was like a nightmare because it's like it's not appropriate for work. And he was just like, he asked me the same thing. He was like, how'd you build up your following? How many, like, you know, do you have a strategy for like your page? And I tried to give him the same spiel I'm giving now about authenticity and like resonating with my audience and like really expressing things that people might be afraid to just talk about, or like, you know, they might need a little bit more of a push to like understand. And that's usually the feedback I get, is a lot of people resonate with how the pages run, what's being shared. I have so many people telling me, thank you for teaching me this. Thank you for like empowering me to feel this way about this, that, and the third. And it's usually about like, oh, standing up for themselves, advocating for themselves, being more honest with themselves about their sexual needs, communicating them, things like that, like body image issues and things like that. So I would just say if like you want to build a brand, if you're wanting to try like, oh, it needs to be as many followers as possible, like I don't know how to do that. But I do know that if you do have boundaries, because those need to be there, you can't, don't just put everything out there if you don't feel like you need to or you don't feel like you want to. But just like having a sense of authenticity and remembering at the end of the day that there's always something that someone else like doesn't necessarily feel comfortable talking about or doesn't feel necessarily comfortable, like, I don't know, like utilizing for themselves. That's what I'm finding out. It's just literally if you are honest with yourself and your audience, and it's like it just depends on what kind of page you want. So if it's like, oh, I'm definitely going to be on here selling clothes, like try to find a way to discuss the clothes in a way that you don't see a lot of other influencers doing. Try to make it more a part of like what you're trying to like express. Like if this is a page that's specifically for clothes, just find a cute, fun way to kind of put more of your personality, not what you see everybody else and works for everybody else into it. If it's a page where it's like, oh girl, I'm on here selling sex toys, like at least, make that a part of like what you're discussing. If you're obviously a part of sex tech, which is within sex positivity, make that a part of the discussions you're having, make that a part of your brand. Like, why are you selling sex toys? Why is it important to, center and prioritize, female pleasure, things like that. That's why I was just like, I don't know what to do in terms of like calling, what I call my page, because it's not like one giant page that follows like a theme. It's more so, like I said, like even how it says on there, it's ran as a personal blog, it's ran as a personal diary. And I feel like that's what's kind of, not even kind of, that's usually what adds to it. Like that's what kind of has made it what it is. Like I used to be very honest on it, like starting out with Zanga, MySpace, Tumblr, Facebook. I've had success across these platforms inadvertently because I was very honest about how I was feeling and what I was going through. Like I remember the first time I got recognized off of Tumblr and I was like, I don't even post pictures like that on here. You like, how the hell do you know who I am? And so like, I was just like, yeah, like people really fuck with authenticity because there's so little of that nowadays. And that's kind of where like Gen Z is headed, where they're trying to get back to that because millennials are still being like raked over the coals for like taking all this time to take the perfect photo of our coffee and like just kind of living in a very curated, still world. And like you have now longer format videos and like even like short videos of people not having to like be in front of the perfect sunset, not having to be in the proper setting, just being themselves. And they're being successful with it because there's so many other people that are craving that kind of authenticity. And to sum it up the best, this guy on the TikTok, on TikTok. I know I do it like all the time on accident because I like say it. I used to say it as like a joke and now it's happening on purpose.
I have the same problem. I'm like, I'm going to go join the kids on the TikTok. And now I'm like, yeah, the TikTok.
On the TikTok. But like he made a video because he was like, everybody was asking why people were enjoying TikTok more. And like, oh, why is it that like TikTok seems to have like this great amount of like, users, and people say that people on TikTok are actually funnier. And that things are like, if you cut in your For You page, why does it seem more catered to you? And he was like, all of these companies are trying to figure it out. They're trying to like get down to the bottom line. So they, to find out the formula to be successful. And it literally is because TikTok allows us to see so many different people that we've never seen before be able to share and express themselves. So that's why we're resonating so much, which is ironic because it's literally other fucking people that finally just have a chance to just get on a camera, turn on a camera and just like say what they need to say, as opposed to be like, oh, I have to take this picture. I have to get for golden hour. I have to make sure we do this. I got to plan these photos. It's like, no, like people are literally just opening up their phone, sitting in their car and just talking. And people, it's refreshing because we're so used to seeing, I'm sorry, the crime is going by. We're so used to seeing like this heavily like curated, like, this is how I want you to perceive me kind of situation. And I just think that I've never really been successful at that. So And I always thought that that was my weakness. I always thought that, oh, I'm not going to be taken seriously enough on here, which I didn't even know what I wanted to be taken seriously for. I just knew that it wasn't working the same way my peers were, because I didn't even know whether or not I wanted to be a part of certain communities or like industries. But it's just like the people that have approached me and wanted to like work with me, or have approached me to thank me for like, having a conversation, or like just even showing up the way I do and offering like an option, like a third option, even for how to exist as a fat Black femme. It literally is just like, oh, you're living as like yourself. It seems like you really like everything you're sharing is what you want to share. And you're having discussions in a way that are more like palatable for everybody else to kind of like engage with, so that we understand how to communicate with each other, especially if people are still learning stuff. So that's the only advice I have to give. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And I feel like it's kind of semi full circle moment, because I love how you were like, you thought not being able to like create these perfect images like all the time was like
Yeah.
your weakness, but like it all turned out like authenticity was your strength. And like we were talking earlier about how Sailor Moon, like her emotions, it seemed like a weakness, but it really
Yeah.
was her strength. And
Yeah.
just like unintentional strengths we don't know about. It's really cool.
Yeah. The radical vulnerability that I show on the page is the strength. So that's why I still identify with Sailor Moon, because the radical vulnerability is what people really like identify with.
Yeah, that is so true. I love that radical vulnerability. And then, just like Sailor Moon had her Sailor Moon says phrase at the end of every episode. What would your phrase be? So Sailor Ashleigh says.
Sailor Ashley says, I don't know. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, hold on. Cause everything else we talked about before this, and I didn't even think about this. I feel like so underprepared. Sailor, Sailor Scout Ashley says, never ignore, how you truly feel. I think that's very important. Never, ever lie to yourself about how you feel. Always be honest with yourself. And that seems like it might be kind of like, oh, girl, whatever, but you'd be surprised how hard it is to do.
Wow, that is so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's hard saying no sometimes and setting boundaries, and because you want to help people. I think especially if you're a nice person. It's like, oh, I want to like help you out, but sometimes it's like, no, I gotta say no.
Yeah, but you also have to like just be honest with yourself and what your capabilities are and what like you have the spoons for at the time. Like you can't overextend yourself. That's why it's always important to be honest with yourself about what you can and can't do, how you feel, and what you're going through. Because like you said before, the human mind is just such a place that can be like, sometimes it can be volatile, sometimes it can be scary, but like as long as you understand that at the end of the day, the only person you have to hold accountable to yourself is you. It gets creepy and scary, but like I promise, like if you're more honest with yourself about it, you have a deeper understanding of who you are, as opposed to being like, I feel like I have to present or feel like I'm figuring out who I am. Because it's never about figuring out who you are. It's about literally just being like, oh, this is who I am, but like just having the conversations with yourself to be okay with who you are, so that you know what you need to work on and what you honestly just don't.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, I completely agree. And what's next for you, and where can people find you?
What's next for me is, it seems like the cannabis influencer shit is taking off. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm like reaching out to other women in cannabis here in the city. That's a really big deal. There's an organization, there's like multiple actually getting together that want to like more so push to have women actually be a part of the cannabis industry, instead of having to be like like a really bro ass like situation. I'm also, you can find the podcast coming soon. So it's going to be called Cheeky. It's going to be on all platforms. And of course, if you follow my Instagram at Ashley Chubby Bunny, you can see all the updates there and get more information about, what projects I'm working on. And yeah, if you want to reach out, if you feel like you resonate in some way, like it's always a place where you're allowed to feel how you need to feel. Basically, you're allowed to go and cry it out, and or like feel as excited as you need to be, and not feel like you're being too much, because you're never too much on my page. It's never too much.
I love that. Yes, I feel that. I'm already happy already. I'm happier already. I'm about to go to your page now and just like feel it
Oh
out. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Once again, I'm Victoria L. Johnson, host of the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. And you can find me at Miss Old School. It's Old School with a K on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find the podcast at Moonies Club on Twitter and Moonies_Club on Instagram. And we have merch if you want to check it out, mooniesclub.com. And thanks for listening, Moonies. And thanks, Ashleigh, for coming on the show.